It's MistaJam on Capital Dance, and right now I am joined by the artist behind this week's Jam Hot Record of the Week. He's an artist that we've wanted to get into the studio for at very least 4 years, for as long as we've existed as a radio station. John Summit is in the building!
Hey.
Oh, man!
Thanks for having me, man. I'm glad to finally meet you in the flesh here.
I know. It feels weird because obviously we've had a conversation during the pandemic on Zoom. And since then, you have gone stratospheric. I would love to say that we knew that was going to happen when we first spoke to you.
Yeah, because that's when things were really popping off, because my first kind of international record was Deep End, and that was, I think, June 2020. And then when we talked, it was like my next single after that, which was Thin Line, which was later in 2020. But still before I was doing any touring at all, of course.
Yes.
And then, since then, it's been a little bit crazy.
It's been amazing to watch. Like, genuinely, it's been so brilliant to watch because you are savouring every second. And I can't tell you the amount of artists that I've seen that have been in a similar position to you who look like they hate it.
It's safe to say I definitely don't hate it. Sometimes the travel gets a little bit rough, but, as a former accountant, it's a hell of a lot better than that.
We had Dom Dollar in, and he was saying that if you want to be a DJ, you have to learn how to sleep sitting up.
Yeah, that's funny that he says that because he told me in person he still hasn't learned how to do it.
Lies, Dom! Dom, you lie!
But truthfully, though, you do have to learn that, though. So I think Dom's doing all right, at least.
He's doing fine. He's doing fine. And so are you. And the reason why you're here is because Go Back is our Jam Hot Record of the Week. It is an absolute banger.
Thank you, man. Yeah, the reactions for it have been unreal, and it's my first time ever dipping into the drum and bass, so I was a little nervous. But it definitely helps having Sub Focus on the record, who's been an absolute legend and like an idol of mine in the scene for years.
See, this is the thing. I know that you love your bass music.
Oh, yeah. That's like actually how I got my start in electronic music, really.
Exactly. Exactly. So D&B, me as someone who knows about your musical background, this is no surprise to me.
Yes.
But for people like John Summit, drum and bass, what?
What? How'd that happen? Well, I'm from Chicago, which is, of course, the home of house music, and that's, of course, really how I got my foot in the door there, but also just being from the Midwest in general, that we just love all forms of electronic music, and all electronic music artists come through. So my friends, in college would drag me to bass shows and stuff, and I'd go, and I was like, oh, this is actually pretty awesome. And I always knew I wanted to do some production of it myself, but I definitely wanted to wait till it was the right time.
Yeah.
And it's really paid off.
and linking up with Nick, linking up with Sub Focus, how did that happen? Did you reach out to him, or was it just kind of the stars align?
So I took the month of November off to write an album that's coming out later this year.
What?
Yeah, so I can't say more than that.
Okay.
And so this was definitely part of it. And then I knew I had like a short list of artists I wanted to collaborate with for it. And I hit him up that that I wanted a collab. And at first, it's kind of like, wait, what? How would that work? Mm. But I always knew, since he also does, infectious vocals with infectious melodies, and he kind of has a similar style in that sense. But of course, the production is totally different.
Yeah.
And so we kind of just had this idea to do this, tempo change where you start with the house, then you go up to drum and bass. And I think it's just super exciting because once you get to the drum and bass section, just the crowd is going off.
And on behalf of all DJs that like to play house and drum and bass in a set, thank you for the transition record.
Yes, it's literally perfect for it.
But for me, knowing Sub Focus and knowing his output over the years, he made house back in the day. So it's a real meeting of minds between the pair of you. It's amazing.
Yeah, so I actually didn't know how deep his house music knowledge was until I, started talking to him, and then, which makes sense because he kind of knew my background a lot more than I thought he would, which is always really cool. And so him even just doing house in his set was cool because the first time I saw him play the record was when he was in LA. And I thought he was just going to skip the house part and go straight to drum and bass. So to see a drum and bass guy do some house music, I thought that was pretty sick.
Do you know what? The rules are all out the window.
There is no rules nowadays.
No.
I think people really are open-minded. I mean, especially when you're kind of like a bigger DJ, especially now, like lately, having my own record label and kind of being in more of a selector position, is that if I really, put faith into a record, I think my fans will follow, assuming it's good, of course.
Of course, of course. I've got to ask you, as we are with all drum and bass artists that pass through, and all artists that love drum and bass.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on the MC debate?
I think you have to be British to get away with it. I haven't seen any great American MCs. I know there are some too.
Shout out to Armani Rain.
Yeah. So
Armani Rain is my favorite American drum and bass MC.
Yeah, see, I've never seen him live before, so no discredit. But I don't know. I think I'm just biased because I love a British accent and it sounds great when.
You're an honorary Brit, John.
Yeah,
that's what it is. That's what it is.
My first touring out of COVID, I was in the UK a lot. So I kind of miss it. I haven't been here besides, I guess, in November, but then I was just writing music, though. So to be touring again is great.
Now, like the title of this week's Jam Hot Record of the Week, we need to go back. Now, when we spoke in 2020, you told us that your first DJ break started when you were fired as a bartender at college.
Yep.
Now, for anyone that's not heard that story, what happened?
So getting fired as a bartender is actually a pretty common occurrence at the college I went to because kids could go to the bar at 19, which I guess is old in the UK because you can drink at 18 here.
Exactly.
But that's like a big no-no in America. And if you serve someone underage, you get let go because you got caught by a cop doing it, which is just like a rite of passage at Illinois because everyone ends up doing it. But I still knew I wanted to work at the bar because I was good friends with everybody. And they said they needed a DJ. And I'm like, okay, I think I can do this. I was doing it, for fun with friends and stuff for a while. And I got really serious with it, was doing it, 4 times a week and wasn't good the first couple years, but eventually got good enough to start getting gigs and was producing the whole time. Never did I imagine it would get as far as it's got now. But, if you have true passion in something and you work your ass off, I think it pays off in the end.
See, this is the thing that I love. And the reason why I want you to tell the story again is because for some people, you came out of nowhere during lockdown. You came out of nowhere with a couple of massive records.
Yep.
The pandemic ended. People started to go out. You're everywhere. You're playing all of these shows. I want people to realize that it took a long time for you to become an overnight success.
Oh, yeah. That's what's so funny is when people call it overnight success as someone that, it took 7 years to even get the first big record. I'm like, it just people don't notice until they notice, though, I love it, though. I mean, especially coming out of COVID, doing like 220 shows my first year after that. I love it.
Yes! We love it. I do have to ask you, though, for as a British person who never had that experience, we've got to talk about college in the US.
Yeah.
Are the frat parties really as raucous and crazy as they're made out to be in Hollywood movies?
I think they are, but solely...
I thought you were going to say they're not.
The reason why, though, is because in high school, I mean, I'm kind of speaking for myself and my friends, though, is that, we don't really party too much and don't drink. I didn't drink at all until going to college. So especially that first couple years is kind of really letting go and having fun. And then not until maybe junior year, you're like, oh, maybe I should start going to class. But it paid off. I still got my degree in accounting and everything. I got to still...
Exactly.
Everyone still has to do taxes, so it still works.
But this is also the thing, because when we spoke in 2020, you were like, if this fails, people always need to do their taxes, so I can always fall back on it.
Yeah, I think we're hopefully at the point where I don't have to go back to that.
You're just doing your own taxes.
Exactly.
But I've got to ask you, what would John Summit of 2024 say to John Summit of 2020? The experiences that you've had now compared to the guy who was just a year after resigning from his accountancy job and trying to make music a big thing.
If I was to give my honest answer, is that I'm so happy with where I am now that I would never even believe how far I've come over the last 4 years, that I'd almost would tell him nothing. Yeah. Because I believe in the butterfly effect, and if I said one thing, I'd put him on a different path, and maybe I ended up where I am now. So I'll just be like, you're going to figure it out, buddy. It's going to be tough, but you're going to figure it out.
Now, John, you have thoroughly earned the title of Party Boy of House Music.
A hard-earned title.
Yeah, very hard-earned title. You are literally the king of the party.
Yeah.
And you're also the lover of the after party.
Mm-hmm.
We thought, who better to give our listeners some rave advice than you?
Do's and don'ts at the afters. Well, a well-kept secret, though, is the way I do it is I do take a big nap before every show.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm a big nap guy. I know some people can't nap, but literally even 30 minutes before I get on the decks, I'm usually laying in bed or even taking a nap in the green room. So that is a well-kept secret.
Yes.
Doesn't really live up to the party boy image, but you got to conserve energy, right?
That lives up to the pipe. You're napping to be able to party.
Exactly. It's like how athletes rest before a big race. I really treat it like I'm like an athlete though at this point. And I'm trying to think of two other advice. Now, I guess I sound like a dad at this point. But drinking water is also the specialty, though. You don't see it too much, but between every few tequila shots, I might take a sip here and there.
That's not called being a dad. That's called being responsible.
Okay, I'll take that. So maybe I am a responsible raver.
You are.
And then the third essential, of course, is good music, though.
Of course.
Yeah, once the music gets bad, I'm not staying at the after party.
What is your definition of bad music?
Bad music is just not reading the vibe and energy. And then things that are just, I know people love the really high BPMs, but I can't do it.
Not yet.
Yeah, once it gets above 160, that's when I also feel like an old man. I'm like, I'm out of here.
I love that. That means that you listen to drum and bass is 87 BPM rather than 175.
I guess I meant that in the house, like in the techno lane.
Yeah.
No, because drum and bass, when it's 170, I do consider it 85 and kind of dance there.
Yeah.
A little bit. Yeah.
Do you know what? We just went producery and nerdy, but that is something that it's very interesting. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. I took it off on a tangent, but I'm sorry. It's really interesting.
It makes sense.
It does. Now, we have to talk about festivals because you're playing a lot of festivals this summer. And Coachella, I'm sorry, it looked like you had the time of your life.
It was honestly probably my best experience ever because it was the most work I ever put in a set, and we were debuting my brand new stage that we're having for my whole tour run and stuff. So I was a little worried about that because you only have 30 minutes to assemble a stage in between each act.
Really?
But yeah, because it's not like a normal festival where everyone plays the same stage, except everyone has the same video wall and stuff. But to do like premiere production like that was pretty big. And premiering all the new tracks off my album and everything too. So to pull that off, it was a good feeling.
And not only that, man, you're one of a few DJs who are really laying the charge for playing house music on these big stages.
Yeah, because normally it was just, trap, dubstep, like really the super high energy stuff. And I thought that you had to be like in a underground tent to be able to pull off house music on a stage, that big. So to be able to pull that off was really, really a dream come true. I literally played that same stage 2 years prior at like 2 p.m. And I thought everyone hated it. I basically cried in the green room afterwards.
You're joking.
I was like, no one here likes my music. Wow. And then 2 years later to headline the stage, doing the same kind of music is kind of crazy to me.
It just goes to show that they really did like your music.
Thank God.
How's the rest of the summer looking for you? Because you're flying all over the place, right?
Yeah, I'm out in Europe a lot. I have a lot of festivals in America and stuff too, of course. But I'm doing Tomorrowland, which will be a lot of fun. Doing Ibiza, of course.
Of course. Of course.
House music paradise there.
Of course.
And just staying pretty busy.
Well, John, it's an absolute pleasure and a privilege to have you in the studio. Please, can we make sure that you're not back in 4 years? Make sure that it's a bit closer.
Yes, please. I'll be out here much more often.